What's going on, people? I'm gonna try this again. I tried to film this last night and got interrupted a couple times, so I just kind of said screw it. But we're gonna try again. uh, Tonight, I promised I would talk about Degeneration X. Just kind of a spotlight on them, and I have kind of a love-hate relationship with DX. Um, it's really just I don't know if it's a maturity thing or if it was just a repetitive thing, but really DX it did do a lot to help the business kind of grow. They were really like mainstays of the Attitude Era. But really, I don't know. I guess I grew up because I didn't particularly care for DX, the kind of the rebirth of DX. But I'll talk about that soon. To start off, I guess first thing is we should find out where they came from. And so I got an old WCW pay-per-view online, or yeah, on demand, and they're in Philadelphia right now. This is like '92. I saw Hat Guy from ECW. If you don't know who Hat Guy was, real quick, ECW would always have like the same fans at all their shows, and every time they did a Philadelphia show at the ECW arena, the same four guys would always be in the front row on the hard camera side. So the camera was here, the fans were on the other side of the camera. It was always the same guy. It was a Hat Guy. He had the straw hat he always wore. There was a sign guy. The original sign guy was there. I think there was this dude with like long hair, a beard, and sunglasses. I think his name was Lenny. And these guys were bigger fans than the wrestlers because even Joey Styles couldn't contain not talking about these guys. You know, like there's Lenny, there's Hat Guy. They were always at the shows. But I'm sure if I keep watching this, I'll see Lenny. But anyway. Sorry to go. I went off on a tangent there. But anyway, DX. I guess the origins of DX begin in '97 when Bret Hart wrestled The Undertaker at SummerSlam, and Shawn Michaels was the guest referee. Now, it's no secret that Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart hated each other. They did not like each other. Inside the ring, outside the ring. You know, this was real heat that these two guys had. For various reasons. One of the biggest reasons that I have heard that Shawn Michaels was, for lack of a better word, a prick. He was an absolute miserable, just egotistical bastard that no one liked. But you couldn't deny the fact that he was a good wrestler. And so, during the match, Bret Hart like spits in Shawn Michaels' face. And Michaels is like, well, I'm not putting up with that bullshit. So he has a chair. I think Bret was about to hit Taker with a chair, and Michaels took it away from him. Bret spit in Michaels' face. He turns his back. Michaels is like rearing back. He's gonna fucking crack Bret Hart with his chair. Bret ducks out of the way. Michaels swings and hits The Undertaker. And then Bret covers him, and Michaels has no choice but to pin. Pardon me. So, Michaels comes out the next night, and the crowd is so against him. They are just booing the hell out of him. And really, I have to ask the question, why? You know, even as I was watching this for the first time, I'm thinking to myself, why are they booing him? It's not like he meant to do this. You know, it's not like he meant to hit Bret Hart with the chair, because he didn't. It was just a pure accident. And it's not like he intentionally meant to hit The Undertaker with the chair. You know, I don't get... I never did understand why people were booing him. I guess because he counted the shoulders. You know, he didn't call for a DQ or some bullshit like that. I don't know. Bottom line is, Michael started getting booed. And he had been cheered for quite a long time. Around 94, 95, he started becoming a good guy. And he was a good guy for a couple of, 2-3 years. So, as he's getting booed, he starts, for some reason, hanging out with Triple H, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, who was in the younger stages of his career. He had just, I think, won the King of the Ring. He had just been in a feud with Mick Foley. You know, he was getting over as a bad guy, as a heel. And so, it for some reason, they just started hanging out together, and nobody really understood why. Because there was no explanation for it. Like, oh, well, he's a good friend of mine. We're just going to hang out. No problem. And they just started getting involved with business that they had no kind of ties to. One of them was 1997. If you go back and look, 1997 is like the year of gang warfare in the WWF. There were factions all over the place. You know, WCW had the NWO, and that was it. But in 97, it looked like West Side Story in the WWF. You had the Hart Foundation, Bret Hart, Owen Hart, the British Bulldog, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and Brian Pillman. You had the Nation of Domination, you know, the Black Militant Group. Ron Simmons, who was Farouk. You had the Godfather, Kama Mustafa, they called him. D'Lo Brown, Mark Henry. You know, even before all those guys, the Nation had two other guys. They had Crush, Brian Adams, and Savio Vega. And when they split from the Nation, they created their own group. Savio Vega had Los Baricuas. Really, the only name I remember in there besides Savio was Miguel Perez. And Crush came out with a biker gang. He had the very first biker gang in wrestling called what was it? DOA. Not Dead or Alive, not Dead on Arrival, but the Disciples of Apocalypse. And they literally came out riding bikes. So years before The Undertaker did it, Crush and the DOA did it. That was... Who was that? It was Crush, it was Brian Lee, Primetime Brian Lee, and the Harris brothers, Ron and Don, who were like identical twins. It was a cool gimmick. I actually liked the DOA. I wish they would have brought them back when The Undertaker was doing his gimmick. Then you could have like a big motorcycle club. I don't know. That might just be me. But anyway. Like I said, DX before they were called DX, it was just Triple H and Shawn Michaels going around causing trouble. They were instigating fights. They were starting shit with other people and blaming the other ones. One of the more classic versions of this was when the Hart Foundation was having a beef with the Nation of Domination. And the Nation, they went back to their dressing room one time, and it had been just vandalized and just spray painted and just completely destroyed. And on the wall it said some really like horrible racist bullshit, like go back to Africa and white is right, and just really just disgusting shit. And in the middle of it all was, on the wall, was this Canadian flag. And I think it says like Canada rules or something like that. And immediately the Nation of Domination says, well, this was the Hart Foundation. How could those assholes? This was their doing. Immediately. Like, they don't even stop and wonder, like, maybe this wasn't them. Because this isn't exactly Brett's style. Brett and the Hart Foundation have never gone to, like, acts of vandalism or racism or any other kind of ism. Pardon me. Good Lord. So, I put yourself in Ron Simmons' shoes. You're the leader of the nation, and you come in and see your locker room vandalized. Now, before all this, you had just had some words or an altercation with the Hart Foundation, and Triple H and Shawn Michaels happened to be there. They were the ones that started it. They're the ones coming to you like, hey, did you hear what the Hart Foundation said about you? They said, I'm not going to repeat what they said, but it was pretty fucking lewd stuff. You would be kind of iffy about it. Why would the Hart Foundation say something like that? I don't know. But, there would be times where the Hart Foundation and the Nation were fighting outside the ring, and Triple H and Shawn Michaels were literally just walking through the fight, just like, well, our job is done. We're leaving now. Enjoy beating each other up. That, by the way, we caused that. They just started Triple H and Shawn Michaels. I mean, for a while there, they just started doing all of this. Really, how I can describe it as just immature, sophomoric, like frat boy antics. You watch those college movies, and they have the stereotypical frat boys who are just really fucking obnoxious, and you just want to punch them in the head. That's what Triple H and Shawn Michaels were doing. They would wear, like, one of the coolest things I've seen them do was Sergeant Slaughter, who was the commissioner at the time. He got in the ring and he was saying, like, you two better act up, like, you two better get your act straight or there's going to be trouble. And they're like, whoa, wait. And they pull out, like, these visors, these protective visors, and they put them over their head. And they're like, okay, you can go ahead now. And Slaughter starts talking again. It's like, wait, this isn't working either. And then they clip, like, like windshield wipers on their face shields. They're like, okay, you're good now. Yeah, we're good. Just really obnoxious stuff. They would do the old trip gag with Michael Cole. Michael Cole would be interviewing him, and suddenly Triple H gets down behind him, and like Shawn's like, oh, by the way, like you have something on your shirt. And he pushes him and trips him, and really just sophomoric shit. And I believe it was, I think the Hart Foundation were cutting a promo. And like any promo that they were talking about Shawn Michaels, Brett would always bring up the fact that, Shawn Michaels, you're nothing but a degenerate, and you don't deserve to be in the same ring as me. And then Shawn Michaels and Triple H came on the Titantron, and they're like, Shawn's like, I'm so sick of Generation X getting a bad rap. Everybody talks about how we're a bunch of degenerates and all that, and he looks at Triple H, he's like, do you think you're a degenerate? And Triple H looks at him and says, I'm not sure. And Shawn says, do you think you're a degenerate? Because I know I am. I know I'm a degenerate. And Triple H said, well, if you're a degenerate, I must be a degenerate too. And this is kind of like the beginnings of it. And Shawn says, like, yes, everybody blames Generation X and calls us degenerates. Okay, fine. We are Degeneration X. It's like, we will now be called Degeneration X. And he said, like, you make the rules and we will break them. And so, and that was the beginning of DX. Now, I know everybody out there wants me to talk about it, because it's the big thing. Everybody wants me to talk about it, so I will. The DX catchphrase that seemed to sweep the world. And to this day, I am amazed that they got away with putting this on TV. Not nowadays. Nowadays, it'd pass no problem. But back in the 90s, like late 90s, TV was still a little iffy. But oh well. Really, one of the first times I saw something that kind of made me question, like, can they really show this? Was Shawn Michaels was coming down to do an interview, and he had like the really tight, high-riding biker shorts on, and he had stuffed a tube sock or a bunch of gauze down his pants to make it look like he had an enormous bulge. And he got in the ring, and Jim Ross is trying to talk to him, trying to conduct an interview, and Shawn just keeps looking at him like, dude, look, are you going to mention anything about my junk? I have a huge bulge right now. And he's like, are you looking at the... And he starts jumping up in the air and pointing at his junk, and finally Jim Ross is like, yeah, I see it. And apparently Shawn Michaels got fined like $10,000 for that. For really just kind of embarrassing Jim Ross and just doing what he was doing. And that was really kind of the birth of their catchphrase, which was, like, I got 2 words for ya, and suck it. That was the big thing. They would just go around telling people to suck it. Sergeant Slaughter was in the ring telling them, like, you two better start acting right. I'm ordering you two to shape up. And Michael's like, okay, all right, Sarge, we know we're going to start acting right. And, oh, by the way, suck it, man! Any chance they had to point at their dicks, they did it. Another big moment in the DX thing was they were going to show a clip from something. I think a pay-per-view match or whatever. And it turned out that they were showing this lost archival footage that was taken from an amateur video. It was in Madison Square Garden. And it was the last night of of Kevin Nash and Scott Hall before they went to WCW. And I think it was Shawn Michaels and Kevin Nash had a cage match. And after the match, Shawn helps Diesel up to his feet and shakes his hand, gives him the manly hug of manliness, and because they're friends. And Scott Hall comes in and he's all hugging too, because it was no secret that these guys were leaving, because this was really the advent of the internet. And word had gotten around that these two guys were leaving. There was even chance of You Sold Out during their matches, because fans knew that they were leaving. And so it was these three guys just hugging it out and everything like that. Then Triple H comes in. And again, this was a point in time where the good guys and the bad guys did not coexist. They did not mingle. So really having Triple H come in was what the fuck is this? You would expect the other three guys to beat the shit out of him. And so you had all four of them together, and the crowd is even the guy holding the camera is saying what is this? Oh my God, what is this? And Hunter goes over to the group, and they all slap hands, and they're parading around and raising their hands up in the air. And you know what? It was okay. It was no big deal. But apparently this little stunt got them in so much hot water. There's that phrase that I used called kayfabe. Well, there's a thing called breaking kayfabe. That means that you are deviating from the storyline. Triple H should not be out there with these guys. He's the bad guy. So the biggest thing was that they broke kayfabe. They exposed the business. We are not supposed to be friends outside the business. And so this really led to another insider story that they couldn't punish Shawn Michaels because he was champion. Kevin Nash and Scott Hall were leaving, so Triple H had to take the brunt of it. He had to take the brunt of the abuse. So he would get booked in some of the worst matches possible. All the opening cards he got, he didn't get any title shot. I think he was even a champion at the time, and he would lose the championship. And looking back on it, I could see that, because he was involved in some shit. Anybody remember the hog pen match? I do, because I was there. Oh no, I wasn't there for that one. I was there for another match, but not that one. The Arkansas hog pen match he had with Henry Godwin, where the loser would be the one that gets thrown into the hog pen. That was about as low as you could get. And so they bring up this footage, and they're like, "Well, wait a minute, what is this? That's Razor Ramon and Diesel. And wait a minute, what are you doing there, Triple H? You were a bad guy. What are you doing?" Shawn Michaels is really just overacting. And he's like, "Wait just a minute. What the dickens is going on here?" And they go out to Vince McMahon, who's obviously just standing, looking at it "Oh, great. Oh, my God. Here we go." And again, this goes back to Vince won't let anything on TV that he doesn't approve of. Maybe he didn't know about this. Maybe he did. Maybe he's just a really good actor. But it looked as if he knew nothing about this. But this was just kind of the genesis of DX. They just caused controversy. They didn't give a shit. They were basically the NWO, but with only two people. They would cause so much chaos that you would wonder, what the hell was going on. I'm trying to think of some other ones. There would be times where I think they had they were doing like a strip poker game in the middle of the ring. Like, just out of the blue, they brought a card table. They were playing strip poker in the ring, and even the announcer was like, "Okay, we got to get to wrestling here. This isn't wrestling." And they're sitting there, and they're just playing around, and Shawn Michaels basically he's stripped all the way down to his fucking shorts, and even JR's like the world champion is standing there in his underwear. This is deplorable. And I think the headbangers come out to try and get him out of the ring, and of course they get their asses beat. But this was just this was all the DX thing, and around the time of the Royal Rumble, Shawn Michaels hurts his back bad, and he has to pretty much take a break. So after WrestleMania 14, he drops the title to Steve Austin, and he's pretty much done. His back is gone. He can't wrestle anymore. And Triple H is now left with this gimmick that is working. It's getting over. The fans really are digging this. So they're like, okay, how do we salvage this? Well, the night after WrestleMania 14, Triple H comes out. And of course, since Shawn Michaels is hurt and we have to protect the business, we just say that Shawn Michaels didn't get the job done. He was supposed to get it done, and he didn't. So he's done. We're not worried about that anymore. And Triple H, he says, tonight's the new beginning of DX, and I'm going to rebuild DX, and we're going to take care of business the way it was supposed to be done. And he goes, in order to do that, you need to look to the people that you trust the most, your blood, your buddies, your friends. He goes, and you need to look to the Clique, and he points to the entryway, and out comes Sean Waltman, who was the 1-2-3 Kid, and 6 in WCW. And I guess he had just left his contract in WCW, and now he was the newest member of DX. And that same night, the New Age Outlaws, Road Dogg and Billy Gunn, they joined DX. So you now had 4 guys, and they were the new DX. And you said to yourself, okay, this another gang. Just what this company needs is another gang. But the difference this time is that DX was getting so popular and so quotable that people started to cheer them. And this was just like when Steve Austin was finally cut loose from having a manager and just was allowed to be himself. He just took off. His attitude and the way he did things connected with the people, and they loved him. Just it was amazing. I'd always been a Steve Austin fan, but my God, I'd never seen anybody take off like that. And so DX would do all this heel shit, but they'd get cheered for it. Even when Shawn Michaels was doing it, they would still get cheered. They would tell every single person to suck on their cocks, and people loved it. And so, now that there was 4 guys, they could do more damage. And so, I forget. I really don't even know when they turned into good guys. Maybe it was around the time they invaded WCW. Or it was around... Because here was how it was. They were doing a show. WCW was doing a show, I think... I'm not sure where, but... DX thought, we're just going to invade WCW. We're going to rent a Jeep. We're going to dress in fatigues. And we're going to go to WCW. Like, we are going to do what they won't do. We're going to go to enemy territory. We're going to try and get in there. And so, this all really happened. So they get a tank, or a Jeep they call it. They call it a tank, but it's a Jeep. With a big old howitzer on it. And they drive to, I think it was the Norfolk Scope. So they go to the place where WCW is having their live event, and people are outside just clamoring because Triple H is on the bullhorn, and he's like, we are officially firing the first shot of the war, and we're gonna kick your ass. And fans were literally like pouring out of the venue to see what the hell's going on. They even tried to get inside. They were going down the ramp into the garage, and the door was starting to close. And Triple H is like, we've come to fight, but the cowards, they've closed the gate. And I remember Triple H said this in an interview, and I totally agree with it. He said if WCW was smart, if they were really smart, they would have opened the door and let them drive that Jeep all the way to the ring. Could you imagine the ratings for that episode of Nitro? They would have been through the roof. Because you would have had WCW people calling up their friends who were WWF fans saying, dude, DX is in the arena right now, and your WWF fan was like, I know, I'm watching it too. Yeah, they would have had so much ratings. Oh my God. It's shocking that they didn't. Like, if I was working for WCW at that time and I saw that shit, I was like, Eric, open that door. Open the door and let those dudes in, because they can only help us. But they never let them in. And so, DX was officially a babyface group now. They were a good guy group. And another big thing was they did a parody of the Nation of Domination. They said that the Nation wasn't in the building, but all of a sudden, like, their music started playing, and they're like, well, wait a minute, I thought the Nation wasn't here. And here DX came up dressed up like the Nation. Like, Triple H was dressed up like The Rock, because this is when The Rock was leading the Nation now. And all the members were dressed up as different guys. D'Lo Brown, Road Dogg was D'Lo Brown. Billy Gunn was the Godfather. X-Pac was Mark Henry, or Mizark Henry. And they found this dude to play Owen Hart because Owen Hart had joined the Nation. I don't know why. And so, DX was kind of around for a while. They held tag team titles. They held the Intercontinental title. It worked. It was a faction, and people loved them. They had probably some of the biggest fan support out there. It just gave people a reason to say "suck it." But it was funny because every single time they came out there, it was the same thing. Triple H he'd grab the microphone, he'd be like, they'd be in Philadelphia, he'd be like, "Philadelphia, are you ready?" And they'd be like, "Yay!" And he'd be like, "No, are you ready?" And they'd be like, "Yay!" And he like, "Then for the thousands in attendance and for the millions watching at home, oh, let's get ready to suck it!" And the Outlaws would come out and do the same thing over and over again. Road Dogg would come out and be like, "Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Degeneration X is proud to bring to you the WWF Tag Team Champions of the World!" And Billy Gunn was like, "You don't like that? We got 2 words for ya! Suck it!" You hear it once every week, and oh well. Then DX very inexplicably broke up. This was 99, I believe. WrestleMania 15, at least. When Triple H wrestled... He wrestled Kane at WrestleMania 15. And then X-Pac wrestled Shane McMahon. And Triple H interfered in the match and joined the corporation, which I'll talk about some other time. But Triple H became a heel. DX kind of were still together, but without Triple H there, it kind of fell apart. They even did matches where they were fighting for the rights for DX, and Billy Gunn eventually turned heel, and it was just Road Dogg and X-Pac, and they were really just kind of holding on to nothing at that point. Everybody kind of went their own way. They were still doing DX stuff, but the group was pretty much gone. And so, then we cut years later, maybe not years, but back actually to my very first WTF with when Triple H married Stephanie McMahon. They had just, again, inexplicably brought DX back, and now they were all bad guys, and they were all with fucking Triple H again. Okay. That makes sense. And then later on down the line, when Vince McMahon got back into it and rejoined them all, again, stories for another time, but you have to trust me on this. So now DX is buddy-buddy with Vince McMahon. That doesn't make any sense. And this is what if they're the rebels, they're the rebellious group, the last thing you want is to be associated with the boss. I don't get it. I did not get it. And I didn't... If it would have made sense, that's one thing, but... they just brought these guys back for really no reason. And again, this is wrestling, so... all that bad blood between the 4 of them just kind of disappeared, I guess Triple H sat down with X-Pac like, "Hey, X-Pac, sorry I beat the shit out of you all those times." And X-Pac's like, "Yeah, it's all good. I forgive you. And Road Dogg and Billy Gunn like, yeah, I'm sorry there, Billy, for calling you Billy Bitch Cakes or whatever. And like, it's no big deal. Like, I love you. And then they disappear again. And of course, the diehard fans, they want to see the real DX. And by that, you mean the original. You want to see Triple H and Shawn Michaels. And around this time, Shawn Michaels wasn't wrestling. He couldn't wrestle. His back was too bad. But he eventually did come back. They kind of teased a DX reunion between Triple H and Shawn Michaels, but then Triple H turned on Michaels, and that's where they had their big epic street fight, which is an awesome match, by the way. But it was about 4 or 5 years ago. Shawn Michaels was in a feud with Vince McMahon. And Shawn had come back, and he was uber religious. He was super Christian. And Vince McMahon was kind of like really just going at Shawn Michaels. And he had, like, Shane McMahon was helping him. He had the Spirit Squad. If you don't remember the Spirit Squad, you are so lucky. The male cheerleaders. Oh my God. And you might not believe it, but that's where Dolph Ziggler came from. Yeah. He was a male cheerleader. But Michaels is basically fighting this war on his own. And suddenly, like, Triple H comes out one night and helps him. And that kind of stirs the pot up a little bit. Like, oh shit, like Triple H, he just helped Shawn Michaels. You know what that means? You know what that means. And sure enough, they bring DX back. But here's the problem. They brought back D-Generation X. They brought back all the goofy, adolescent, frat boy bullshit. But again, here's the catch. It is now being done by two 40-year-old fathers. One of them is a total devout and unapologetic Christian, and 90% of the shit that they could do that was back then, he did not want to do. And I will admit, they did make it work. Because there would be moments where they were going to chase somebody through, I think like they were chasing somebody, and he ran through the girls' showers, and pardon me, and Triple H is like, oh dude, we got to go in there, and Shawn's like, I'm not going in, I can't go in there, and they're like, don't worry, just like take my hand and I'll like follow my voice, and Shawn's like, ugh, and he hides his eyes and he's being led through, and like I think Triple H even leaves him in there at one point. You know, it was goofy, childish shit, but it made you laugh, I will admit. And again, they did do some funny things. I think they were having like a cookout out in the parking lot. They were having like a tailgate party, and Triple H had a bunch of girls standing there, and he's like, hey buddy, he had a guy there, and he's like, hey buddy, would you like to see something cool? And he's like, oh hey Shawn, isn't that Mr. Fuji over there? And Shawn's like, oh where is Mr. Fuji? And the girls like lift up their shirts, and then they put him back down, and of course Shawn comes over and is like, I didn't see him, what's going on? And they're like, it's nothing. So they covered that pretty well. And again, some of the shit that they put on TV, they they had this running gag where Vince McMahon, like they said, Vince McMahon is a lover of cocks. Like they would have all these cock references, the chicken, like. Wow, the one segment. Triple H comes out dressed as Vince McMahon, and he's like, "I am under the impression that you people believe that I like dicks." And he says, "Well, that may be true, but I enjoy cocks more." And he goes, I love big cocks. I love small cocks. I love fat cocks. I love skinny cocks. I love black cocks, white cocks. Hell, I'll even do Asian cocks. I love cocks." This got on TV. This was put on TV. Without filters. They had a segment where Vince McMahon was walking in the back, and somebody, like a UPS guy's like, "Here, Mr. McMahon, I have your package for you." And he says, What package? He goes, "It's your industrial strength penis enlarger." Okay. When I say they made this work, I meant the stuff that, like, they were trying to cover up the fact that Shawn Michaels is now a Christian and he has to do all this immature shit. That I don't mind. But then you get to the really ridiculous shit, where it might have been funny when I was 17. Because that's when DX first started. I was 17, 18 years old when DX first started, and the shit they were doing was funny. But now, I'll be 33 this month, in October. And, again, maybe it's maturity, but I wanted to know when they were going to wrestle. Like, the entire time they were on the screen, I'm like, okay, can we get to wrestling now, please? I know it's an odd concept, but... And another... I'm sorry if I've been rambling, but there was one time that just really pissed me off. It was one of the Slammy episodes, and what a joke they are. But DX were the tag team champions, and they were wrestling, I think it was Big Show and Chris Jericho. It was going to be for the tag team titles. And if Big Show and Chris Jericho lost, they had to leave Raw. And this was like the 4th time they've done this angle, that if they lose, they have to leave Raw forevers this time. So, if they didn't win the title, they were leaving. So DX gets in the ring, and they're all limbered, they're ready to fight. The bell rings, and I think like Triple H just punches the referee, like just punches him square in the jaw. And the referee he's like, "The fuck? The fuck was that? Ring the bell! Ring the bell, sir!" And he's like, "Yeah, winners by DQ is Jericho and Big Show, but they didn't win the titles can't change on the DQ, so DX is still your champions." These are the good guys. And really, what kind of precedent does that send? That, kayfabe time. You're a wrestler, and you're in the back, and you see DX punch a referee and get disqualified to keep their titles. What kind of message does that send to you? That, if I don't feel like wrestling, I just have to punch a ref, get DQ'd, I can still keep my title. It's the simple things that I like best. And they kept DX around for a little bit longer, but eventually they split. But bottom line, did DX do what it was set out to do? Yes. It caused controversy. It put asses in seats. It made stars out of people that were struggling. You know, X-Pac, Road Dogg, Billy Gunn, China, Triple H, all became huge stars because of DX. And the people they worked with became better for it. So yes, it worked. Do I think they went too far sometimes? Yes. Some of the shit they did was not needed. Was it funny? Yeah, when I was 18 years old. Do I really give two shits now about saying suck it to people? No. Was it funny then? Sure. Is it now? It could be, but is it needed? No. So, this is what I talk about. I have like a love-hate relationship with DX because on the one hand, they were entertaining. On the other hand, sometimes it was too much. But, you know, you take it for what it is. It's wrestling. It's entertainment. I get that. So, there's my rant about DX. I hope it was informative.